Texas, the Lone Star State, a place where the horizon stretches endlessly, where the spirit of independence is woven into the very fabric of daily life. It's a land of contrasts, of pride, and of promise. Big hats, big trucks, big stakes, and a big tragic homelessness crisis. In a state known for doing everything on a grand scale, the scale of this crisis is no exception. The images of prosperity and rugged individualism often overshadow the harsh reality faced by thousands every single day. While politicians debate culture wars and argue over headlines, tens of thousands live without shelter, their voices drowned out by political noise. The halls of power echo with arguments about ideology, but rarely about the urgent needs of those sleeping on the streets. This isn't a minor issue, it's a humanitarian disaster, visible from Dallas to rural towns. From the bustling cities to the quiet backroads, the crisis is impossible to ignore, if you're willing to look. The official numbers are grim, but the real count is much higher. Families in cars, youth couch surfing, people hidden in encampments, many are invisible, slipping through the cracks of a system that doesn't see them, or chooses not to. These are Texas's shadow population, invisible until tragedy strikes. They are our neighbors, classmates, co-workers, people whose stories rarely make the news, but whose struggles are all too real. Imagine the entire population of a city like Galveston without a safe place to sleep tonight. That's the scale of the crisis. Tens of thousands, with nowhere to go, night after night. This is a systemic failure, not a matter of bad choices. The roots of homelessness run deep. Rising rents, stagnant wages, mental health crises, and a lack of affordable housing all play a part. For many, a single setback, a lost job, a medical emergency, an eviction, can mean the difference between stability and life on the streets. The safety net is full of holes, and too many fall through. Texas has the 9th largest economy in the world, richer than Canada or Australia. The state boasts booming industries, world-class universities, and a culture of innovation. The resources exist, but the political will is missing. Solutions are within reach, but too often, they're left on the table, overshadowed by partisan gridlock and short-term thinking. Instead of real solutions, we see temporary fixes, punitive laws, and finger-pointing. Sweeps and bans may clear a sidewalk, but they don't solve the problem, they just move it out of sight. It's a tragic comedy, but the suffering is real, and the joke never was funny. Every day, people are forced to choose between dignity and survival, between hope and despair. The time to ignore this crisis is over. Texas's shadow population deserves to be seen, heard, and helped. The question is not whether we can afford to act, but whether we can afford not to. Every state faces homelessness, but Texas adds a deadly ingredient: relentless, record-breaking heat. Here, the sun doesn't just beat down, it punishes, turning city streets into dangerous, unforgiving landscapes. For those without shelter, the heat is an invisible threat that grows stronger every year, making survival a daily battle. For the unhoused, summer isn't just uncomfortable, it's life-threatening. The difference between life and death can be as simple as finding a patch of shade or a bottle of water. Many are forced to walk for miles under the blazing sun, their bodies pushed to the limit, just to find relief that may never come. The pavement burns, water is scarce, and shade is a luxury. Concrete absorbs the sun's energy, radiating it back long after sunset. Even at night, the heat lingers, offering little respite. For many, dehydration and heat exhaustion are constant threats, and the smallest misstep can have fatal consequences. Every year people die from heat stroke on Texas streets. Emergency responders do what they can, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. Behind every statistic is a person, a life cut short by circumstances beyond their control. This isn't a freak event, it's the new normal, supercharged by climate change. Heat waves are becoming more frequent and more intense, stretching emergency services and communities to their breaking point. The climate crisis is no longer a distant threat. It's here, and it's deadly. Cooling centers are too few, too far, or close, too early. Many who need them most can't reach them, or find the doors locked when the sun is at its fiercest. The safety net is full of holes, leaving the most vulnerable exposed. Texas cities built on concrete become urban ovens. The very infrastructure meant to support life now traps heat, making the environment even more hostile. Trees and green spaces are rare, and the relentless sun turns every surface into a hazard. Politicians talk about personal responsibility, but no one can be responsible for surviving the sun. When the system fails to provide basic protection, blaming individuals only deepens the crisis. Real solutions require collective action and compassion. The crisis is amplified by climate, and the response has been catastrophically slow. Bureaucracy and indifference have left thousands at risk, while calls for urgent action are met with delay and debate. Regulations abound for trivial matters, but not for saving lives from the heat. Permits and paperwork pile up, but meaningful protections are scarce. The system is quick to enforce rules, but slow to offer real help. The result, misplaced priorities, and the cost is measured in lives lost. Each summer the toll grows higher, a stark reminder that inaction is deadly. Until we treat heat as the crisis it is, the most vulnerable will continue to pay the ultimate price. Behind every statistic is a person, a living, breathing human being with hopes, dreams, and a story that deserves to be told. When we talk about homelessness, it's easy to get lost in the numbers, but every number is a life interrupted, a journey derailed. Like Maria, a single mom working full-time, living in her car with her kids because rent outpaced her paycheck. Each night, she tucks her children in, hoping they'll feel safe, even as headlights sweep across their windows. She juggles work, school drop-offs, and the constant fear of being discovered, all while trying to keep her family together. Or David, a 62-year-old veteran in Austin, once a builder, now living in a tent, invisible to passers-by. He served his country, built homes for others, and now finds himself without one. Each day he faces the elements, his memories, and the ache of being overlooked by a city he helped shape. These stories aren't rare, they're the rule. Across Texas, thousands face the same uncertainty, lining up for shelter, hoping for a warm meal, or simply a safe place to rest. There's a grandmother in Dallas whose Social Security can't cover rent, forcing her to choose between medication and a roof over her head. She worked her whole life, raised a family, and now sits alone, wondering how things got so hard. Or a young adult who aged out of foster care with nowhere to go, carrying everything they own in a backpack, searching for a place to belong. For many, the transition to adulthood comes with no safety net, no family to call, and no home to return to. The mental toll is crushing. Constant fear, anxiety, and a loss of self-worth. The uncertainty gnaws at them, making every day a battle against despair and isolation. People worry about safety, theft, and being judged as worthless. Every night they guard their few possessions, never sure if they'll be safe until morning. Every day is a fight to remember their humanity. Small acts, writing in a journal, holding on to a cherished photo, become lifelines to the person they once were, and hope for who they might be again. These aren't just stories of hardship, they're urgent pleas for help. Each voice, each face is asking for compassion, for understanding, and for change. The system blames individuals for falling, but it's the cracks that are widening. The safety nets are fraying, and more people are slipping through, left to navigate a world that too often looks away. Resilience is everywhere, but so is despair. In the face of overwhelming odds, people still find ways to help each other, to smile, to hope, but the weight of their struggle is never far behind. The crisis is personal, and the suffering is real. It's written in tearful eyes, in outstretched hands, in the quiet moments of exhaustion and grief. These voices demand to be heard. They speak out at city council meetings, share their stories with reporters, and gather in rallies, refusing to be invisible any longer. We can't look away any longer. The time to listen, to act, and to stand together is now. Because behind every story of survival is a call for dignity, justice, and hope. How did Texas, with its booming economy, become a hotspot for homelessness? The main culprit, a catastrophic lack of affordable housing. The Texas miracle sent prices soaring, pushing out long-term residents and low-wage workers. Wages are stagnant, but rents keep rising. Working full-time isn't enough. Add a fragile job market, a mental health crisis, and the end of pandemic protections, and the result is a tidal wave of homelessness. It's not a mystery, it's a recipe for disaster. Policy failures, not personal ones, are to blame. What's the response? Shelters and outreach groups are overwhelmed, forced to turn people away nightly. Some cities, like Houston, use a housing-first model, proven to work. Others, like Austin, criminalize homelessness, pushing people into hiding. Laws that punish poverty only make things worse, adding barriers to housing and jobs. City policies often just hide the problem, not solve it. The state government, largely indifferent, focused on culture wars instead of real solutions. There's no statewide strategy or investment in affordable housing or mental health. Cities and nonprofits are left to handle a crisis far bigger than they can manage. This isn't just a policy failure, it's a moral one. Texas can do better, but it must choose to. For the unhoused in Texas, summer is a recurring natural disaster. Temperatures soar, tents become ovens, and dehydration is constant. The search for water is endless, and public facilities are scarce. Heat worsens health problems and makes finding work nearly impossible. Mental health suffers as exhaustion and misery set in. Cooling centers are few and close early, leaving people exposed at the most dangerous times. The official response is a band-aid on a gaping wound. People are dying and the system isn't keeping up. Amid government inaction, community heroes step up. Volunteers and nonprofits like Feed the People Dallas and the Other Ones Foundation provide food, water, and dignity. They know people by name, build trust, and advocate for humane policies. Their work is vital, but they're stretched thin and can't solve this alone. Real change requires government action and resources. These heroes are doing triage in a disaster zone. Their compassion is inspiring, but the need for systemic change is urgent. We can't expect charity to fix what policy has broken. The crisis is huge, but the solutions are clear and proven. First, invest massively in deeply affordable housing. Build and preserve homes for those most in need. Second, adopt housing. First statewide, give people homes, then support. Third, stop criminalizing poverty. Repeal anti-homeless ordinances and redirect funds to outreach and services. Treat homelessness as a public health crisis, not a criminal one. Public involvement is crucial. Demand action from leaders, support nonprofits, and vote for real solutions. The political will must be built, not wished for. This isn't a spectator sport. Show up, speak out, and support those on the front lines. Vote for compassion, not cruelty. The time for empty rhetoric is over. The solutions are within reach. It's time to act. Texas's homelessness crisis is a tragedy of political failure and human suffering, but the story doesn't have to end in despair. There's hope in the resilience of people like Maria and David, and in the tireless work of community organizations. The solutions are practical and proven. We know what works. The true measure of Texas is how it treats its most vulnerable. Right now, Texas is failing, but it doesn't have to. We can choose compassion, dignity, and real change. It will take pressure, advocacy, and a shift in priorities. Demand more from leaders, support those on the ground, and never accept homelessness as normal. The time for excuses is over. The time for action is now.